In general, producing a quality product takes more resources than producing a shoddy product. And in fact, if we had infinite resources that we could spend on perfect people and machines and supplies, we could, in theory, make a perfect product. But we don't have infinite resources. So we're going to need to find a way to weigh the cost of our quality activities against the benefits that we get from those activities so that we can produce a competitive product at a competitive price. In order for a business to be effective, it has to be really careful about how it spends its resources. And that's just as true for the resources that we spend ensuring quality as for all of the other resources that the business spends. So in order to be sure that we're spending our quality resources well, the first thing we're going to need is a method of assessing how effective is our quality management system. Is it helping us produce the quality that we want to produce? And if we honestly assess it, what's going to end up happening is we're going to find problem areas. We need to be able to isolate where are those problem areas and to prioritize actions to fix those priorities. So the bottom line is the cost of quality is no different from every other cost in a business. That cost of quality needs to be budgeted. We need to monitor how well we're using those things and make sure that they are as well spent as possible. The costs of quality fall into three categories. Prevention, which is the resources that we spend on trying to prevent defects. Appraisal, which is the resources that we spend trying to check whether we have produced a quality product or not. And then failure costs, which are internal and external. Internal failure costs are when we're smart enough to have caught the problem ourselves. And external failure costs are what happens when the product has gone out of our doors and now a customer has detected that failure. So prevention costs are the resources that we spend preventing defects from happening. So essentially, this is the cost of our quality management system. So that requires that we design a quality management system and that we implement it, and the cost of doing that quality management system and the cost of improving that quality management system. So some of these things are things that happen before we even begin production. So in order to prevent defects, first we need to know what quality is. So we need requirement specs on the quality of the materials coming into this product, any intermediate deliverables along the way, and what the finished product is going to look like. Once we have those, then we need to plan for how are we going to achieve those goals. We need to put in a quality management system in order to assure that we have those goals. And then we also probably have some costs for inspection equipment or training. Now, these things all make sense if we're talking about some sort of manufacturing facility, but what are these things if what we're producing is software? Requirements of our software include things like how is it going to function, but it also includes requirements like response time. How many connections is the server going to need to be able to deal with at a time? How many transactions is the database going to have to be able to handle a second? So those are our requirements. And then our planning for how we're going to do those things requires some software design, but it also requires things like, are we doing unit testing? Is that how we're doing inspection? Do we have other groups who are testers who are testing to make sure that we've achieved our quality objectives? Benchmarking of an existing system to know whether it meets those quality objectives or not. And overarching all of that is quality assurance, which is a plan, a management strategy for how do all of those different components work together to make sure that we are meeting those goals. Our inspection equipment is probably things that are watching CPU utilization or assurance tests that are built by a customer to make sure that the system points and clicks the way it's supposed to. And you can take all of these things that sound like they are manufacturing things, put them in the context of software development, and the process for how you deal with them is the same. Appraisal costs are the costs of verifying that everything is okay. So it starts with verification of any incoming materials and setting up our processes. And then periodically, we need to check to make sure that our quality management system is functioning the way it's supposed to. And then we probably need some verification of any inspection equipment that we have. And some people will spend the time to do a vendor rating for every one of their suppliers over time, which suppliers have better quality than others. Internal failure costs are the costs associated with failures that we detect before the product has left to a customer. There are basically three possibilities. The first is the thing is broken so badly we can't repair it, reuse it, resell it. It's just scrap. The second possibility is we can somehow fix it. There's a cost associated with fixing it, but we can fix it. And then we probably have a reinspection after that, which is another additional cost. The third possibility is it's an okay thing. It has less quality, perhaps some less usability. So we can sell it as a second quality sort of thing at a discount. That means we're not getting the best return on investment. So when we're talking about internal failure costs, it's all things that are associated with waste that come with that thing. So when something is broken, there is some unnecessary work that we have to do to deal with it. Perhaps we need to hold it in stock for some time, in order to gather the resources we need to fix it. Maybe we have some wrong materials or some poor organization. There's just some overhead that goes along with having things that are not good laying around. And then we also need to do some failure analysis, because the fact that something has gotten through our process and has gotten to the end with a defect means that we have failed in some way. There is something wrong in our process. We need to find what is the root cause of that error in order to make sure that it does not happen again. External failure costs are when the failures happen but we don't detect it. Instead, we sell it to a customer and the customer detects that there's a problem. Well, first we have some repair or servicing cost, obviously, because we need to fix the problem for the customer. This also means that we have to have the resources to deal with warranty claims or the handling of complaints. If it's a software thing, we need that help desk for people to call to help them deal with the defects in our software. If we have actually sent something out and they're going to return it, we need to be able to manage returns. In the worst case, we need to worry about reliability. If we have built something that they depend upon in some way and there's a chance that someone is injured by a defect, then that's a very scary big cost. And then in addition to all of the costs of dealing with that unhappy customer, we have an unhappy customer. And that unhappy customer has all sorts of ways that they can tell people about their unhappiness. And that loss of goodwill could perhaps cost us market share. This graph is showing the relationship between the total cost of quality and our organization's capability. So the Y dimension here is the total cost of quality. And that's the sum of our prevention costs, our appraisal costs, and our failure costs. And then the X dimension is our organization's capability. And remember, that is our ability to produce things that meet the specifications at the rate that we need to produce those things. So one way to look at this graph is as our capability gets bigger, our total cost of quality goes down. So our capability is inversely related to our cost of quality. Now that doesn't mean that we should spend less money on quality so we can produce more stuff. If you look at the details in this graph, you'll see is that organizational capability is getting bigger. Our prevention costs are going up. And so what we're doing is we're spending resources on preventing things, and that's making our failure costs go down by much more than our prevention costs went up. So as we spend money to prevent failure, our total cost of quality goes down, and that increases the organization's capability. So we need to put these costs in some sort of context. How much money should we be spending on this? Well, for lots of places, those quality-related costs, all of the things that we've been talking about, are more than 10% of their sales. So that means more than 10% of the money that's coming in is being spent on quality. Essentially, that's a hidden cost, and it's consuming 10% of your capability. 10% of your ability to produce a product is being spent on ensuring its quality. So if we can convert that into something productive, that'll increase our capability. And so really, when we're trying to get systematic control of our processes, that's exactly what we're trying to do. We're trying to reduce how much resources we have to spend on quality so that our income is our income and this hidden cost is minimized without sacrificing the quality of what we're producing.